Right, Shivan, and we know that the state has created history by recording a voter turnout of 67.13, which is the highest since 1951. And having said that, what, according to you, could this surge in turnout imply for Bihar?
Diksha, and early also, we've spoken with a number of experts. The women turnout, the number of women that came out to vote this time. And I have to quickly give you some numbers for that as well, that out of 3.51 crore registered women voters, 2.52 crore had cast their votes. And that basically means this is about a 71.6% voter turnout for the women among all the women that are there and eligible to vote in Bihar. This has been a major reason for the high voter turnout overall. Also, another factor has been the migrant workers coming back to Bihar for Chhath Puja, and that would have also raised some kind of, would have had a bearing on the overall voter turnout. Now, who they really voted for, it's only speculation as of now. We can only give trends, but if the exit polls are to go by and if the trends are to go by, it clearly seems that the NDA is in lead. And what I was also discussing with Saleh a little earlier, I think by 11, we'll pretty much know who's in the lead, because by 11, you kind of get an idea of who's going to eventually cross that 122 race mark.
I think that's very crucial. 122 is the majority mark. Now, Shivan, the fact that Bihar, even in comparison with India, has a much younger demographic. This is where it gets interesting. The average age of people in Bihar, believe it or not, is just 22 years old. That is substantially less than what it is for the national average, which is about 28. And there's a lot of speculation that the youth of Bihar may have broken from the past and may have voted very differently. People who say that they don't want to vote for the RJD because they remember what happened under Lalu Prasad Yadav, where they say that it was more sort of a jungle Raj that he had presided over. And it is Nitish Kumar, the Sushasan Babu, as he likes to call himself, who came about and brought that change. But someone, let's say, was born in 1995. That person is about 30 years old now. They're voting in these elections in Bihar. But they've not witnessed Jungle Raj. Their memories are very different. The fact that Bihar remains one of the most backward states in India, how do you think the youth has swung this time round?
Saleh, as far as the youth are concerned, what they haven't seen in the past, let me compare it to what they are seeing right now, because there was a lot of allegations, I would say, with the opposition putting it of, it was on one hand you had Jungle Raj, and then the other hand you had the narrative of vote chori. So it totally depends on what they are going to be seeing. Also, what determines a lot for a young voter is how their elders have been voting. A lot of people, if they haven't really made up their minds yet, they would go by what perhaps their, they would see their elders voting as in the house. That is one bearing which also has. The other bearing is, of course, their own experiences. But the number of migration that we've seen, the out migration I'm talking about, clearly means that they would have looked for better opportunities elsewhere. Would they want those same opportunities when they come back home? Would they want better opportunities when they come back home? That again will determine which side they would want to go, in favor of the incumbent or against. So that is a question that continues to stay with us. But, we have to wait and watch. It's not even 9 a.m. right now. These are early trends. But yeah, there is jubilation, but has to be taken with a little bit of caution, regardless of which camp. But, Tejasvi Yadav, and the reaction which just played for all our viewers a little earlier, he's still saying Badlav hoga. And for anyone internationally watching us, Badlav means there is going to be a change. That means a new government is going to come here after, at least not Nitish Kumar, if nobody else. That's what Tejasvi Yadav is suggesting.
We'll of course see in the next 3-4 hours whether there will indeed be Badlav, or is it going to be the return?
It might just happen a little earlier. It might just happen a little earlier.
We'll get to know. I mean, we'll get to know, because we should never jump the gun, never celebrate early. That, always, of course, is what every political party must do. Meanwhile, there's some pretty interesting images that are coming in from Patna in Bihar, where horse-mounted policemen, we're given to understand, are out on the streets. These are some pretty interesting images there, Diksha. Because remember, this is a pretty tense moment. All political parties are on the edge, and although on the face of it, they're projecting confidence, in the back of their minds, they know that anything can happen. In 2020, there were parties that were out celebrating early. They had to eat a cropper, and then they came back with the results that they did. We can, of course, expect, some of these leads and trends to solidify by about 12 p.m., by 1 p.m. We'll have to, of course, wait and watch, because this is still the very early rounds of the counting of the votes that is currently underway. And women's participation is something that's been spoken about a lot in the state of Bihar as well, because What is interesting is that Nitish Kumar in many ways has tailored his policies so as to attract the maximum vote from the women of Bihar, who seem to be again in many ways following the trend, but then again outdoing the trend in the rest of the nation, where women are stepping out in overwhelming numbers. The percentage difference was about 9% more of the women electorate coming out and voting in this election this time round. But who are they voting for is something that we'll have to wait and watch.
Absolutely. You're right, Saleh. Women's participation has, in fact, defined the election to a certain extent. The turnout among women was 71.6%. Whereas for men, it was 62.8%. Now, it's interesting to note what drove this change. There could be multiple factors at play here: the SIR, the monetary incentives, and perhaps also the convergence of these several factors coming together to inspire this kind of a turnout.
That of course remains to be seen. The fact that the men were a little bit more laid back and decided to stay back at homes, but nearly 71% of the women, in fact, stepped out to the voting stations to decide to cast their vote. That's in many ways unprecedented. Also, what is fascinating is the manner in which the number of women in absolute demographics who stepped out to vote has outnumbered the number of men who voted in the state of Bihar. Even though the electorate on the voter roll, the number of men outnumbers that of the women. These are some of the images that are coming in from Patna, where the political leaders are out offering their prayers to gods. That's what they would do, pray on the day of the counting of the votes, because their election results will, of course, depend on it. At this moment, these are the early leads and trends that are now doing the rounds. The BJP Plus is leading in 117 seats. The RJD Plus is ahead in 82 seats. The JJP is ahead in about 3 seats, while others are getting about 3 seats in their kitty. These, remember, are very early leads and trends. Things can dramatically change over the course of the next few hours. Now, which way? There are several constituencies here, and the problem about predicting elections in Bihar is that Bihar is an outlier amongst the outliers. That's how things go in Bihar. The Bharatiya Janata Party on its own has never formed a government in the Hindi-speaking belt of northern India, which a lot of people don't appreciate. That even in the Hindi-speaking belt, the Bharatiya Janata Party needs an alliance partner to form a government here. And Tejasvi Yadav, who's been, in the wings for quite some time, who's of course been knocking on the gates of power for quite some time, has he done enough this time round to show to the people of Bihar that he's got it in him, that they can elect him as their next chief minister? We'll of course need to wait and watch for that. And the Jan Swaraj party of Prashant Kishore, how much of a splash is that party now going to create in these elections? These are also the key questions for which we will get the answers in the next few hours. These are tense moments. Many of these leaders are smiling. They're trying to put on a brave face. But in the back of their minds, they know what is, of course, riding for them. At this moment, 121 for the BJP Plus, 78 for the RJD Plus, the JSP is 3, and the others have about 3 seats where they are ahead in these elections. And also at this moment, there are specific seats where the leads are coming in from. Samrat Chaudhary, he is said to be leading from Tarapur. Tejasvi Yadav is leading from Raghopur. Kesrilal Yadav is leading from Chhapra. And Anand Singh is leading from Mokama. These are some of the leads that are coming in, where some of these key leaders, Samrat Chaudhary, one of the key figures of the BJP in the NDA alliance in Bihar.